Shalom, everybody. This is for Parashat Naso, and we saw in Parashat Naso it talks about the Or Tachash and the Techelet. The Or Tachash apparently had amazing colors, and it's an animal we don't have any anymore. So the question, the riddle of the week was, what is a color that is not a color? So let's start from defining what the color is. First of all, we have an electromagnetic spectrum of waves, and the visible is only a very small part of it. We go from very high frequency gamma rays to very low frequency radio waves, and in the middle we have the visible light spectrum that goes from roughly 400 to 700 nanometers. And this is visible light, and as we know and we learned at school, the visible light that comes from the sun can be decomposed in all its components that we can see in the rainbow, from the red, orange, yellow, and all the colors that can be decomposed by a glass prism. And so what is really a color? A color, by definition, is the visible light is absorbed into a material, and some frequencies are reflected and some are not. The ones that are reflected, that are the ones that we see, and these are the colors that we perceive. So a red apple absorbs everything except for the red, which is reflected to the eye, and we see red. And the green leaf absorbs everything except for the green that goes to our eye, and we see green. So that's a color absorption of certain frequencies and reflection of the remaining frequencies of the light spectrum. Now, we have amazing colors, for example, in butterflies, but those colors are not colors as we defined before. In fact, if you analyze the structure of the wings of the butterfly, they're made of nanostructures, meaning a bunch of little things. When you see here in these pictures all these structures that are distant only tens or hundreds of nanometers, and what happens is the light refracts and interferes on those complicated structures to form a certain pattern of interference that we perceive as being a color. So this is a blue morpho that we perceive as blue, and from this the scientists use this to do photonic crystals, meaning that you have alternating pieces of different refraction indexes of materials in order to simulate the same effects of formation of a certain color that is not a color, it's just the result of an interference. And in fact, other animals, some insects and also some birds on their feathers have the same phenomena where you have nanostructures that refract and make interference and we perceive as colors, but they are not colors. One interesting example of this is also the chameleon. The chameleon has, in fact, on the skin a bunch of little dots that are distance a certain distance, and this distance, basically the refraction interference on these distance makes a certain color. And now, depending on the state of this animal, if he's excited, if he's happy, if he's afraid, it will change the distance between those dots. And by changing the distance between those nanodots, it will change the pattern of interference, and it will change the color that we perceive. And that's why the chameleon can have so many different colors depending on its mood and on its what he wants to do. And this is all depending on the nanostructures that are changing on the skin, and those are not colors. From this we can restate our famous phrase of Rav Yosef Chaim Sitruk Zatzal: nature is the modest veil of protection that God extends over man so as not to force to believe in God. Amazing that God has done some colors that are not colors. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom.